Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Polity. That was segment there was on climate mitigation and what the presidential candidates and the incoming government are expected to do as regards the recent developments on the global issue. Now, like I said at the beginning of the program, we'll be taking a look at the perspective of the students. What are they going through during this period? What are their plans? How do they intend to make a statement come February 25th, 2023? Now, I've been joined by two students here in the house. I have with me the Senate President of NANS, the National Association of Nigerian Students, Comrade Atta Felix Nalue. I hope I got that correctly. He is a student of the University of Jos. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And to my right, I have Comrade Anzaku Shedrack. He's the coordinator of NANS North Central. Welcome, Shedrack. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, both of you. All right, we'll start with the basics of it. What's going on for students? We know that there's some level of hardship caused by the Naira swap and fuel scarcity. Just this morning, the president said 200 Naira notes are now have been extended their validity. How has this been for students?
For us, this is a current reality that has befallen Nigerians, and in as much as we've seen the other side of it, as students, the impact on the lives of every Nigerian student on campus has been very, very negative. We have gotten so many calls, all are cut across our campuses, and as the Senate President of NANS, I've also gotten so many letters to the National Secretariat of NANS in regards to the need for Nigerian students to come out and protest, to protest against these policies, to protest against this hardship that is being caused by the recent development in the country. So for us, it has been a very, very, very challenging time, and we are believing and trusting that we will get over it and things will get better.
All right, that you mentioned it, I'd just like to continue on that. Is that something Nigerians should be expecting, a protest or some thereabouts, or are there other means that are being used now to try and achieve the required results?
Yeah, in our team of leadership, since we got on board, we have tried as much as possible to make sure we do things in the right way as learning people. Students who are coming from a learning background and with a very positive-minded ideology. We believe in applying the 3 C's in all issues that affect Nigerian students. One is consultation, and then we consolidate on all that have been consulted before we confront. So at this point now, the leadership is still consolidating on the gains and the effects of whatsoever that we are passing through. And I think after this phase, we'll be left with no other option but to go out to the street to confront the government and its policies that are affecting Nigerians and students negatively.
All right, let me hear from you now, coordinator. You're the coordinator of the North Central. Has there been any specific effects, negative or positive, from what is going on in the country at the moment?
Just to add more to what the Senate President of NANS has said, His Excellency Atta Felix, the hardship has been seen in all ramifications. Students are suffering. If you go to PS points, there are no money. If you go to ATM points, there are no more cash. So where is the money? Just early this morning, the President said, okay, 200 Naira notes can continue. But the money is still not on ground. So we are ready at any point in time. Once the leadership of NANS, headed by the Senate President and the President, says, go out and protest, we'll go out and protest. In fact, Nigerian students have mobilized. We have the Senate sitting at the level of University of Abuja, of which the Senate President organized, and nothing less than 300 SCG presidents were on ground. So at each back and call, the students are always ready to work with the leadership of NANS. So at any point in time, we'll protest. Because, as he said rightly, we go with the 3 C's, which is consultation, consolidation before confrontation. So after the consolidating stage, we are ready. At the level of Abuja, we mobilize and we shut down everywhere.
All right, that being said, the 3 C's aside, the elections are always a chance for citizens, both students and non-students, to have a say in who leads them, especially if they are not satisfied by whatever the current government is doing. That being said, is there a united front, perhaps, that students are going towards as regards this election? Is there an idea you are following, or a perspective or qualities you are looking out for? Generally, how are students perceiving what is coming in the next 9 days?
Oh, it's evident here. Right here in the studio, it is evident, because here I am seated closely with my coordinator. This is the largest zone in the organization, Zone C coordinator, who is so sound, very eloquent, and of course, as far as I'm concerned, we have the same ideologies. So, in this new dispensation, the new era of NANS, the students' leadership have decided to elect competent people who will come out there to speak the minds of students. And we have also rolled out our policies and our demands to see that these criteria, which of the candidate is going to meet up these criteria. And of course, in our town hall meetings that we intend to hold with various aspirants, it is expected that we will listen to their manifesto keenly, and when we listen to them, then we will come out as a house to take a decision where the NANS president will be out there, and I will be standing by him as the Senate president, who is the custodian of the Constitution and who superintends over 420 student union presidents. When we say over 420 student union presidents, that means a 10 million population of Nigerian students will be coming out this time around to vote. And when we say to vote, to cast their vote and to make sure that these votes count in this dispensation. So we remain united.
That's fair enough. I know you had a statement out on the closure of schools. How's that going to affect all of this? The plans to vote, the plans to mobilize, the plans to come together and elect your leader. Some persons say it's a positive, and some others say it's a negative. How would it really impact your plans for the election as students?
You see, in this country, there are so many things that happen. When people begin to see the strength or the capacity you have as electorate, they begin to see, they begin to fear you, they begin to see that if something is not done, then that they are actually at loss. I want to tell you something, that recently, sometimes in last month, we were at other television stations to discuss these issues, and both the coordinator, the deputy coordinator, the president of all female students, both I as the Senate president and also one of our own, which is the student union president of University of Abuja, we're all out there at the media space to speak on the wishes of Nigerian students. And this will come in two-dimensional ways. Why do I say in two-dimensional ways? My brother, during the ASU strike, there were some students that decided to go and re-register for their voter. Some will be voting at home. Some will remain to vote in schools. And you will agree with me too that there is a common reality at that point that there were some states that did not close down their institution or join the ASU strike. And such institutions, that means the students will have to vote on their campuses. We come out there at the media space to speak that there is need for government to be very responsible. I want to say responsible. They should suspend academic activities, but not close down the schools. Our agitations were suspend academic activities, they don't close down schools, so that those that have their PVCs at home will go home and vote. For those that have to cast their vote on campuses will stay back behind where they are well secured and cast their vote. But of course, we saw the circular coming out and closing down all schools and suspending academic activities. Of course, the president of NANS, in his own wisdom, had also issued out a letter to the Minister of Education requesting that there was need for him to allow hostels to be open, so that these students that are remaining behind can be able to have somewhere to put their heads. I want to tell you that there was a scenario that happened on Sunday in Jos. I was there on my campus. A student that went to withdraw money was attacked and stabbed. I went to the school clinic to see her. So I tried to make my findings, and I discovered that because a statement has been issued that people should go home, students are running helter-skelter home, and the security personnel, the school security personnel that are supposed to be vigilant in making sure they protect life and property on our campuses, have decided to show negligence as far as responsibility is concerned. And I've also taken it up from there. I've also made a letter to the Vice Chancellor demanding that there is need for us to tighten up security as far as that institution is concerned. So these are daily basis challenges that befalls us, and as people who relate with the grassroots on daily basis, we see them as recurrent and all of that. So we are saying that for all that has happened, government has not shown us directly that they have our interest at heart. I want to be categorically clear, and I want to be very, very straightforward here. Government has not shown Nigerian students that their interest remains of topmost priority to them at all. You're closing down schools completely. You have forgotten that the leadership have spoken and written to the ministry that there is need to suspend academic activities, but then allow those who will be around to remain so that they can have somewhere to stay. So for us, we feel these are things that have befallen us, and as students, we always say that an injury to one is an injury to all, and they are only giving us reasons to see how we can tighten up our modalities and make sure that we scrutinize all the aspirants that will be interfacing with critically, and then go into an MOU where Nigerian students leadership will be signing an MOU with the aspirants on aspirants that will prioritize education if elected. And I think those are the aspirants, that is the candidate that we will go for. When we scrutinize them, we'll see that who have a proven track record of realistic projects that can be achieved, then that is the person that will be declaring a teaming million support. And don't forget, our election monitoring team and solidarity team will be out there to see how we go campus to campus and all the grassroots polling units within our environment to make sure that votes are being counted in our decision.
Right, that's really interesting. It's good to hear about that. I wasn't aware that you have such on ground already. But before I come to you, I just want to ask one more questions about your method, about the 3 C's. I'd like you to rate the level of, will I call it dialogue, or how receptive the authorities are to students. When you try to consult, it's always a welcome development when young persons do not automatically take to, confrontation. They give that room. So the question now is, do you feel, will I say, use the word rewarded by the response you get? Whenever you try to consult and consolidate, are there open doors for you to speak to these persons in authority? When you are speaking to them, do you get the kind of reception you want, or are you shut down and made to consider the third option?
If I sit down here and say we've not gotten what is expected when we try to consult, then I'm not being realistic to myself, because it's also proven and it's out there at the public space that we got elected when students were at home, and in trying to make sure that our campuses get reopened, we had to put in the application of making use of this method, which is the 3 C's, and it yielded positively. For the first time, the NANS leadership had to consult and interface with the national leadership of ASU. We had a meeting that lasted for over 7 hours at the University of Abuja. A very heated argument. We gave out our points. We were able to listen to them and understand the pains and what they are also passing through before we interface the other people from the government side. Of course, we went out there to also interface with the Honorable Minister of Labour, who gave us listening ears. We were able to also interface with the Minister of Education. And in that light, my brother, I want to tell you that today I am proud to sit down here and tell you that in other past administrations, we are aware of various protests that were done at the streets of Abuja, all the federal roads within this country. But since we came on board, we have not for any reason gone out to demonstrate aside the testing microphone that we did at the airport in Lagos, where the NANS president and the vice president mobilized to shut down the Southwest Road. And of course, we know that it yielded a result. So I want to tell you that the method of consulting, consolidating has also yielded well, and we are believing and trusting that in this process that we are now, concerning the issues of the hardship that has been deferred on people and the masses and Nigerian students, that while documents and letters have been written out to various agencies of concern, that there is every need for government to show concern and responsibility, where our yearnings and our demands They'll be listened to. Let me tell you, I want to tell you that on daily basis, if I am traveling, I try as much as possible to be with the coordinator. Why? He is one of the persons that gives me the grassroots information of some of the challenges that befall some students at the campuses, because I can't be everywhere. He has to be there. He has to also move. Some days back, he just came back from Benue. So I want to tell you that we are trying to make sure that we don't exhaust the chances of consolidation. But where somebody tries to give us daft ears, my brother, I want to tell you that we always show them the other side of ours. And I want to tell you, in light of this, tomorrow, by the special grace of God, we are all converging at the Unity Fountain Ground to do a peaceful march to INEC office, where we'll be demanding that our members and our leaders who are contesting in this forthcoming general election, that they are not rigged out, that let the process be free and fair. And it is not just for our leaders alone, but that the elections in this country must be conducted in a free and fair manner. So tomorrow, we will also be recording that success story in the history of time.
That's fair enough. So let's also come to you now, coordinator. In terms of the grassroots, like he's mentioned, you know, what is the mindset of students at the moment, as regards how they might be leaning towards as the elections are close? I'll put this in perspective. Some politicians at the moment feel targeted by this policy. Some believe that because it's close to the election, it might rub off the wrong way on them. Others have not quite expressed what their concern is, but they also have issues with the policy and how it affects. So the question now is, on the grassroots, are people's minds of one, or is it still here and there? What's really going on in terms of how students perceive what's happening and how they hope to express it 9 days from now?
Just to throw more light on what my leader has said earlier, at the level of national Nigerian students, we are so compartmentalized. We have the Joint Campus Council that is at every 36 states, headed by the chairman. We also have the 6 zones, of which we have each geopolitical zone being represented in NANS. That's 6. Now, these Joint Campus Council, they all report down to the coordinators. These coordinators also report down to the National Executive Council, headed by the Senate President and the President. So, at the level of these narrow notes, I can tell you categorically that Nigerian students are not happy. No one is happy. The level of stress, the level of hardship, untold. That's why we're organizing this town hall meeting. This town hall meeting is where we'll sit down, discuss with these aspirants that are contesting in the forthcoming elections. Why? We want to know what they have for us. We want to know what they have for Nigerian students. We have to know what they have to give back to the society, because we suffer every time. It's only Nigerian students that keep suffering. As far back as 2022 went for 8-month strike. As far back as 2020 went for 9-month strike. So this administration is an administration that wants all our curriculum to keep going steadily. We don't want Nigerian students to go on strike. So when we come, we assess them based on their competence, based on their accessibility, based on their level of eloquence. If you check, each time we have a budget on ground, health and education always have the lowest in Nigeria. We need a president that would give us a good budget plan. Give infrastructures. Our laboratories are dilapidated. You understand? So Nigerian students, in fact, now they are angry, and they need a position from the leadership of NANS. So I can tell you categorically that after this town hall meeting that we're having, and NANS comes out with credible statements saying that this and this candidate are more preferable, go this way, I'm telling you, Nigerian students will follow. Because the leadership we have on ground now, they are so groomed, they are so experienced. Our president was former coordinator, controlling North, East and North Central. Our Senate president was former vice president, national special duties of NANS. So everybody you see now in NANS have done or carried out 1 or 2 responsibilities. They are not new to struggle. Tomorrow now, we will celebrate and solidarize around all our past leaders that have served in numerous offices, that are credible, capable, and will sell them out to the societies to say, give them a free, fair election and see if they will win. Not all of them have the opportunity to be in some of the third parties, but they are all doing well. And if you go to their grassroots places, you see they are pulling out votes. So I tell you, this Naira policy, students are not happy, they are angry, they are sad. We want to send a strong signal at the level of these elections, and just watch out. In fact, in no distant time, you see the position of NAS. Thank you.
Right, that's fair enough. What I'd like to get from you,
policy.
Yes, what I'd like to get from you now is, let's just assume, you have an opportunity. Obviously, there are a lot of people listening to you now. What would be generally your charter of demands from the candidates? This government has a few months left. So what are the things that you are telling this government that is coming in? The moment you are stepping into this role, these are the things students expect from you, and we hope to hold you accountable when you come into power.
As a person, I think there is one thing we've learned in recent times because of the hardship that's befalling us, that to every policy that is being discussed at the media space or that is being innovatively brought to the public, that there is need for us to also know the working pathways of the implementation of this policy. Because of course, I want to tell you that when Nigerians got informed about the issue of the change and redesign in Naira currency, so many Nigerians were celebrating. But the negative impact it has actually inflicted on Nigerians today are not happy about it. I want to tell you, today before we came here, we had to struggle before we got fuel, because by independent marketers on the NNPC and the rest. There is artificial scarcity everywhere. Today, people are buying currency like fuel just because they want to feed. Just because, of course, when they said that we want everybody to return back on e-business, we were saying it's a good one. It has its advantages and disadvantages. But with what has been rolled out and what has been knocked in from the old currency, I think the CBN has not been fair to Nigerians. And that is why we have been experiencing this hoarding, we have been experiencing this scarcity of funds. And of course, people keep going out there at the media space to say bank managers are holding these funds just to deviate attention. And you see people going out to attack bank premises in recent times. This is because of the divide and rule that our leaders are always choosing to see how they can pass this information to us to distract us and to divide us. For Nigerian students, we have agreed in this dispensation that we will remain united. And as the Senate President, I want to tell you that I superintended over the last Senate sitting, which is the 68th Senate sitting of NANSA held at University of Abuja. The voices of Nigerians today is very, very clear. And the clear message there is, all the coordinators, the Joint Campus Committee Chairman, and the Student Union President have agreed that we are going to make sure that we make things right in this country. And that no policy that will not get the blueprints of the implementation that will be allowed to be implemented or to be taken for granted in this country. So for the next leadership that are coming on board, for every policy that you want to bring on board, you must make sure that you bring the implementation processes on board so that we will know, and then do a check, a fundamental check, and see if there is a workable mechanism in trying to cushion the effect of whatsoever that will cause us pains at the resultant end.
That's fair enough. I think it speaks to how specific plans will work. But that being said, what are the general demands? Things that students need now that they don't have, or things that they need more of that they're not getting. I mean, particularly, I can tell you that while I was a student, I had an issue, not an issue per se, but the head of department of my department at the time was taught by one of the professors who is still teaching in the department. And the interesting thing is he used the same notes that he used to teach our HOD to teach us. So that's one of the things that I would say, I've noticed in the school. So all of these things, how would you, or what do you want to be done about it?
Just like my coordinator rightly said, when he was speaking as a science-oriented person. During my undergraduate days, I read biochemistry purely. And I want to tell you that Nigerian students have demands for good learning environment. Our hostels must be properly well treated and kept. And for tuition fees, we are aware of recent development that vice chancellors go out there to increase school fees and tell student union leadership that it's coming from the council, and that and we are also aware that there is no directive from the Ministry of Education giving them access to do this. We only heard from a very reliable source that information was given by a verbal way, that go and do. The government cannot cater for all of this. My brother, we will be doing everything possible to make sure that each and every institution that increases tuition fee indiscriminately will be shut down. We'll shut down that institution and we'll make sure that those school fees is reduced before the institution will call back academic activities. That is 2. During the Senate sitting, he's in one of those committees that was set, the Committee on Revitalization and all of that. We want a situation where they are already toying around to visit our hostels to see the conditions of these hostels and all of that. Because it is expected that for us to have a good academic background, that we also need a very, very comfortable environment where we will lay our heads. So we are going to make sure that we prioritize the welfare of Nigerian students in a nutshell. So I want to say our demands are not far from increasing tuition fee. We will not take anything that will make life worse than what we are experiencing. We will not even take. We want to return back to the old days, the old days where things were better than we've seen now. We want a Nigeria where we will be united. We want a Nigeria where there will be no insecurity. We want a Nigeria where when Nigerian students are traveling, we will not be scared that you might be kidnapped. We want a Nigeria where somebody from the north can go for a convention in the south, somebody from the south can travel down to the east or to the west for a national convention, and will remain at peace, knowing that we are one. So for all the candidates contesting, I want to use this platform to also tell them that there is need for us to choose the choice of languages that will unite this country. We need to use the choice of languages that will show that we are progressives. We need to use the choice of languages that will show that our forefathers that fought for the independence of this country did not get it wrong. So there is need for us to remain one and fight those who are actually our enemies, who are the oppressors.
Right, that's fair enough. I don't know if you want to add to that in terms of demands for the next government.
Pure, our labs, like I said earlier, what we have at the lab, they are not up to standard. So there is need for agents, there is need for, like if you go to laboratories where medical microbiologists operate, there are no polymerase chain reaction equipment. And this polymerase chain reaction equipment is what you use as a molecular diagnostic technique now. They don't have it. Why? Because the lack of funds. So there is need for the budget of education to be increased. And this budget, there is also need for a committee, you understand, that would also ensure that this implementation is done, and a representative of NANS, the president and senate president, should be included in that committee. Why? So that this budget, after being given, we will now know that, okay, this is where the sources of income are being channeled to. If student representatives are not there in these committees, then of course the whole essence is not achieved. Why? Because there will be no room to checkmate them. So NANS is a pressure group that ensures that the interests of Nigerian students are protected in all ramifications. So that's why we want to send a strong signal now, assess all these people, and ensure that people who can protect our interests are given offices in all ramifications.
All right, that's fair enough. I'd just like to get your reaction to a recent happening in terms of how people are reacting to some of these issues. Take, for instance, the issue that happened in the University of Benin, where there was some fracas with soldiers and thereabouts, and we heard reports that there was even retaliation by the soldiers. I'd like to get your thoughts on what really happened there, and how you think that situation could have been managed or could be managed in the future.
Immediately when that video clip got to the media space, people had sent solidarity and sympathy for the army officer, forgetting the root cause of what had happened before the students reacted negatively in that manner. The students have their ATM inside their campus. You came to oppress them and to chase them away because you're putting on uniform. Of course, these are human beings too. And that was what caused that reaction. Because we have a vice president intercampus in that institution. And with the information she had given, Comrade Vanessa gave me a detailed information that the students only reacted after when they were manhandled and rough-handled as a result of using their own ATM machine that was right inside the campus. Of course, we see our campuses like our barracks. Our campuses remain our barracks, and no oppressor will come into our campuses and come and oppress us. Of course, it will be more of like chasing you and beating you in your father's house. So I think that reaction, while I sympathize with that reaction, I would distance ourselves to that reaction, but we want to see that the root cause of the reaction is one thing that I will always say that we don't even need. There is no need to even give out the violence for any reason. So when we try to do things in the right way, certainly we will not get reactions like this. But let me also tell you that NANS has both the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when things have gotten to the other way around, you will see so many people unveiling the ugly aspect of them. So I want to tell you that Nigerian students are aware of its teeming million members, and at all times we will remain responsible. We will do everything possible to remain law-abiding. For any reason, I will not sit here at the national television and speak in support of whatsoever treatment that was given to a uniformed personnel who is meant to secure both our campuses and life and properties in this country. But I also want to say that the root cause of what brought about that video clip that trended on the social media is something that we should not allow to happen for whatsoever reason. And meanwhile, the NANS president, Comrade Umar Barambo, in his wisdom, has also inaugurated a committee that is trying to get the detailed facts on the people that were responsible for all that happened, even both from the student angle. And I'm sure justice will take its own course, even though we are aware that the military had returned back to have a peaceful coexistence and discussions with the school management and the students. So I trust that we will not return back to the old days and the bad days.
Right, that's fair enough. All right, so let's move forward now to the next phase of this conversation, which is how students and young persons should participate in politics. You know, you're student leaders at the moment, and there's a history of persons who are students as leaders going on to become actual leaders in in the world. So I don't know, I could be talking to the next president or governor here at the moment. So I'd like to know, what are the lessons to be learned in how students can participate? Because there are different schools of thought. Some people believe that as a young person or student, you don't have to identify with a party. You just have to pick the person you like and go ahead. And then there are others who say that as a young person, if you are not in the nitty-gritty of it, if you do not pick a side, if you do not walk through the process like others do, you'll be left out when it's time for leaders to emerge. How do you think students should approach leadership and politics?
It is rightly said that when the right people try to distance themselves from leadership, then we allow the wrong people and fools to lead us. I want to tell you categorically clear that there is one sensitive thing you have said here that I'm so happy for today. You see this country, anybody that have served, have held a position in NANS that did well without impeachment and ended his tenure, if you give him this country or whatever constituency, the person will do well. I'm telling you. And that is one of the reasons why, for the first time in history, I, in my own wisdom, have deliberated so closely with my coordinator and came up with an idea that there is need for us to celebrate our past NANS leaders who are contesting for elections in this country. I want to just call a few names. We have the likes of Comrade Godwin Meliga, running for House of Assembly in Kogi. We have the likes of Honorable Tony Nwoye, contesting for Senate in Anambra North. We have the likes of Honorable Chinedu Obidigwe, contesting for federal constituency, same in Anambra East and West. We have the likes of Ferdinand Chidozie in Anambra, contesting for Senate. We also have the likes of Herman Hembe, contesting for Governor of Benue. We have the likes of Kabir Dala, contesting for House of Assembly in Obi in Nasarawa here. And so many that I will mention, if you allow me, I will call them by names because they are leaders I know. The likes of Fred Okeita, the likes of Musa Alechonu, former Senate President, to Tony Were, and many that I will mention. I want to tell you that these people have passed through the scrutiny of leadership and learning. And for us in Nance, it is expected that an injury for one is an injury to all. We have learned to sacrifice right from our days in the university. So when people have such upbringing, you should know that out there in societal politics, they will do well. Because they will have time to also know that this policy I'm about to bring, is it going to tell well of my people? Is it going to be at the interest of my people or my community? What do I need to do? So that is why I keep saying that for every reason, Nigerian students in this dispensation have decided to come out to vote for their own. And that is the reason why tomorrow we'll be doing that mass rally to INEC. And I want to tell you that in a nutshell, Nigerian students are using this medium to also encourage our leaders and tell the younger ones that as you school and you prepare yourself, that you should not just prepare yourself in the academic aspect of life. That there is need for us to also prepare ourselves in the aspect of leadership. Because when we have a good background of leadership, then we will get this country better to where we want it to be. If we get the basic fundamentals that has to do with the right thing to do, my brother, there is even no leadership that you will bring that will take the people for granted. So it is the responsibility of every student today. Because who are students? Students are people coming from the learning background. People who are learning. People who are there to acquire knowledge. People who are choosing to make sure that they impact positively to their life and the society. This time, the message back there to our members, the message from our members to the society is, we are coming to take over. So for everybody contesting election, my brother, I want to tell you that the likes of Mike Bless in Bayelsa, they are all credible leaders that serve downs and they are contesting for election. So by the time our past leaders go and fill the National Assembly, of course, there will be policies and laws that will be made that will actually stand for the interest of the masses. Not a one-sided thing. Not where you will hear this person have run off with so much money, somebody is piling money in his room because he wants to use it to actualize a very selfish interest. So, for us, students have realized, as students are aware now, that we are not going to leave leadership for anybody. It is our own time. It is our own right. And it is our responsibility to take over leadership and make things right in this country.
Fair enough. So for me now, the coordinator. You mentioned a number of names there, and I'm pretty sure they are not all in one party. They are across multiple parties. So that being said, as a student yourself, are you inclined to, pick one of these parties and join, or you just, as students now, you wait and watch and pick whoever is competent from whatever party?
Like I said earlier, NANS is a pressure group. We are non-partisan. What we do, we see. We take up credible leaders and we support them. Why? Because we support credibility, we support accessibility, and we support integrity, self-esteem. You understand? As far back as 2015, Nigerian students voted the highest, 51%. If 51% can go towards a person and vote, you're already as good as having the highest number of votes in an election, which is also a criteria for winning. Now, Nigerian students have registered the highest. The newly registered voters, we have 3.5 million above that have registered. As far back as December 22nd day, 2022, Nigerian students that have collected their PVCs, it shows that 80% have collected, and more have collected within that period till now. So Nigerian students are so conscientized that everybody wants to participate in this forthcoming election. So I would advise you and say, okay, go to this party or stay in this party. Why? Because this party will pay better. No. What I advise them to do is to participate more in politics. What you have, your PVC. Your PVC is that card that will give you an electoral value. Once you have this electoral value, you have the ability to cause a change. So now, the leadership of NANS, our essence is to source for these credible leaders. The leaders he mentioned, like Kabiru Dara, is contesting at level of Lafia Obi-Wan for House of State Assembly. And he has given so many jobs already to numerous people at the level of the street. The Fred Oketa he called and Godwin Meliga, they all served as coordinators of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Zone C, North Central, North East, and they did so well. In fact, they produced policies that favored Nigerian students, and they also agitated for so many struggles. The likes of Tony Oye that he called, they are all nation builders. So you wouldn't expect a Nigerian student to say, okay, stay in this party. No, it is not good thinking. But when you spread across and you pick up, I'm of the opinion that you elect credible leaders. Why? Because of what they can provide to the society, not for party's sake, because NANS remains non-partisan. So we ensure we follow through the right source. We pick up these people and we tell our students, this is the right way to follow. As he was mentioning their names, I was already smiling. Why? Because these are my leaders. I've seen their impact. They are still impacting, and we know what they can do, their capability and their capacity. So at the level of National Association of Nigerian Students, this is our take. We don't do party, but we ensure we elect credible leaders, and we influence them with our strength and our population, because Nigerian students have registered the highest, 26 million, and we will ensure that we make our voice count.
All right, so the question now is, after voting, what happens? We have numerous occasions where people make promises and they say, this is what I'll do, and so on. And then once they're in the office, their phone number doesn't even work anymore. You can't talk to them. They're no longer accessible. And some, make promises, and when they get there, they say, this is not what we expected to see. We were not given the full information. So what happens after you've perhaps chosen a leader and he has emerged and he's not performing? What are the frameworks in place, to perhaps hold him accountable to what he has promised?
Okay. This NANS leadership is not just a leadership that implements policies without going down to the grassroots to also ensure that they are implemented. One, prior to this election, there's also a situation room that will control, observe all the electoral policies and all the elections going at each wards, each local government. Like I said, NANS, we have numerous structures cut across each state, cut across each campuses, cut across each zones, and the National Executive Council. So now these students would also ensure their votes, and we will also ensure they vote the right person. This situation room is also just to ensure that the votes are not being rigged. We want a free, fair, credible elections where everybody will be able to see the results. Thank God for the beavers. Now, after these elections, what do? We know we have given you power because we have the power in our hand. The tool is here. So now, what do? We also ensure that's why there's need for the town hall. So the town hall is to know what they have for us, to checkmate them, to criticize them, and also to ensure that these policies go in favor of Nigerian students. After that, we'll now sit, after the electoral victory, we discuss as NANS leadership, and also ensure that every criteria that is needed for Nigerian students to progress will be given to you. Why? Because if Nigerian students enjoy, the fathers and mothers, they are also enjoying, they are happy. The country is also growing. Everything you see in Nigeria goes around the students. I tell you, from businesses, from each forms of policies, it affects Nigerian students. And once Nigerian students are happy, you see the country will progress. Why? Because everything you see, from jobs, occupations, from traders, they're all found amidst the schools. So this set of leadership will also ensure that these policies are implemented. And one thing NANS is known for is that we checkmate the society. We checkmate the leaders that are on ground. The fact that we have given you a mandate doesn't ensure that we won't checkmate you. If you do wrong, we tell you have done wrong. If you go astray, we tell you you have gone astray. That's the integrity in NANS.
Thank you so much.
That's why we say Aluta Continua, Victoria.
I'm sorry, President, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Just like you have said it, the town hall meeting, it's going to create an avenue for the leadership having an interface with the candidates. And of course, you know that after the town hall, I didn't say a church service, a town hall meeting where there will be an interactive section. Certainly, we will have an MOU where a memorandum of understanding will be signed and will be documented. So when you're going against what we have agreed, of course we'll be out there to tell you that this is not why we voted you in. The hands that voted you will come out to say we will vote you out. So I want to tell you that the front way of running for town hall meeting is the best ideas, because we feel that it is our right to interface with those who are contesting directly, hear from them, then get to an MOU where a document will be signed, and then knowing fully well that all written lines of this MOU will be centered on the welfare and prioritizing education and the masses in the blueprints. Certainly, any reasonable person that we will come out to support and to give that support, except if that person does not have conscience, will be doing everything possible to key and implement whatsoever that we will be talking about. And Nigerian students, let me finally tell you, we are decided to distance ourselves from peanuts money. And that is why, for no reason, you have seen me or the NANS president or any of the 6 zonal coordinators going to any rally to go and start declaring a candidate that this is the presidential candidate. Because we want to interface with them before we know what they have to offer. And then we will follow their track records and the antecedents they have in time memorial.
All right. So finally, to round up the program, I'd like to get your closing statements, basically your advice and your admonition to students across the nation. What is it you'd like to tell them in this moment, 9 days to the election? How should they, be thinking, and how should they be reacting to things at the moment? So I'd just like you to get your advice and your words to the students. So let's start with you, Senate President.
My message out there for Nigerian students who are people that have kept me where I am is, let's go in there, get our PVCs, stay on alert while we interface and give the direction. I also want to say that we will make sure that in the interactive section that we'll have, we'll do everything possible to make sure that we'll bring in choices of candidates that will not only implement or promise or sign to do things that will favor Nigerian students, but to do things that will turn around the situation of this country and make the masses smile. So for Nigerian students, no matter the hardship you're passing through, our earnest advice and plead out there is, just get prepared that for a few days to come, the day will come for us to make decision and make history. Kudos to everyone out there.
Thank you, Senate President. Please go ahead.
My advice is simple. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. So each Nigerian student out there, ensure you vote. Each vote counts. I tell you, from 1, we have 2. From 2, we have a lot of numbers coming up. So don't say your vote doesn't count. Your vote counts. In fact, people lose election with just 1 vote. So ensure you stay put. We like the tempo. We like the fact that all of us have collected our PVCs. We like the strength. Keep it up. You understand? There's light at the end of the tunnel. So Nigerian students, stay cool. There will be a position from NANS in no distant time as Luther continue Victoria.
Thank you very much, comrades, Comrade Felix and Comrade Shadrach. Thanks for coming, and it's good to always hear from Nigerian students. We hope to hear back from you soon, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be there with you while you are taking your walk to INEC. Thanks for coming once again.
Thanks for having us.
All right, that's all we can take on the Polity today. I'll leave you now with some updates, but do join us tomorrow and across the weekdays from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. where we talk about politics, governance, and the state of the nation. Have a nice day. Bye for now. I am Amadine Ubwewe.